The Positive Pause is a motivational-minded podcast covering topics women want to know about as they journey to and through menopause, focusing on subjects that impact women's health and healthy aging, including what it means to age healthfully. The Positive Pause features experts and influencers from a variety of industries and specialties. The information and opinions expressed on the Positive Pause are not intended to replace the services of trained professionals or to provide specific medical advice. To see the National Menopause Foundation's full medical disclaimer, please visit nationalmenopausefoundation.org.
Welcome to the Positive Pause. I'm Claire Gill, founder of the National Menopause Foundation. Joining me today is Maryon Stewart, an author, TV host, and speaker on natural menopause. She's also the founder and CEO of Femmar, a hormonal health company guiding women through the journey of hormonal self-care. Widely recognized as a pioneer of the natural menopause movement in the UK, Maryon has spent over 3 decades building a trusted body of research and clinical guidance that has engaged millions of women. Many consider Maryon living proof of her own protocol, thriving with so much energy and purpose in her golden years that retirement isn't even a thought. She embodies what so many women in the menopause transition aspire to, feeling vibrant, clear-minded, and fully engaged in life. As part of her modern legacy, she's on a mission to elevate nutrition as a frontline strategy to reduce the suffering of the more than 1 billion women experiencing menopausal symptoms worldwide. Thanks so much for joining me today, Maryon.
Thank you for having me.
Well, so let's dive in. Let's start talking about what inspired you to start working in women's health in the first place? And how, if at all, do you think things have changed for the better since then?
Well, I think things have changed enormously because when I started, there was nobody really in the space. And I was living in England at the time, and we encountered women who were experiencing extreme PMS, premenstrual syndrome, and there was no real help for them. There was waiting lists between 6 months and a year. And when they did get to the front of the queue, if they hadn't been committed to a psychiatric institute by then, because some of them were feeling, suicidal, aggressive, and really over the top, then they were only being offered hormones or cosh drugs to stop them ovulating or antidepressants. And so we became aware. I was married to a doctor at the time, and I was on maternity leave from my job, and my ex-husband and his colleagues were setting up the British Society for Nutritional Medicine, and they found 10,000 medical papers on the subject of nutrition and different conditions, and they gave them to me to sort them into subjects, and I found 200 on the subject of PMS. And so that was how I was kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. I got the short straw, and before I knew it, I had an advisory service because there was just no help for women, and I felt compelled. I couldn't stand by and see all this research that nobody was talking about, and the end user feeling so terrible for at least 2 weeks a month, and the two not ever meeting. And so before I knew it, we trained the practice nurse and some other nurses and then some nutritionists, because we literally had, when the word got out what we were doing, we had sacks of mail arriving every day. This was before emails. I mean, they come with like 2,000 letters a day from women, all not just in the UK, but all over the world, women desperate for help. And before too long, we found that just by helping women to change their diet and lifestyle and maybe take some supplements in the short term to help correct nutritional deficiencies, which we found were very common. We did 5 studies and found that they were very common. Women the biggest complaint was they didn't know when their period was coming. And so they had no symptoms. And we couldn't work out why that was. And that's why we did the clinical research to find out what happened to their nutrients, what happened in the meantime to cause that. And then eventually in the 90s, there was research appearing on menopause. And so looking at the natural approach again, looking at how phytoestrogens, for example, plant-based estrogens, can mimic estradiol in the body, and how increasing nutrient levels can help to improve hormone function as well as brain chemistry, and also help with things like bone density and protecting you against heart disease and brain fog and all of that. So we again put it together as a program in those days, and now these days a rules-based protocol that women can follow to get themselves back to feeling well. And not just that, but after menopause, which is, as well as I do, the anniversary of your last period, we're living so much longer than that these days, that women need to know how to protect themselves against the awful things like heart disease, dementia, and bone loss, because we are much more predisposed to those after menopause. And women don't know that that's the case.
That's right. It's so fascinating to me. And I think I've shared before, like my background when I was in the public relations industry was in food PR, and I spent a lot of time at the dietitian conferences and stuff. And I was just overwhelmed and excited about how important nutrition really is in healthy living. I mean, not just as, what we focus on is just weight management, but really how to prevent and even support treatment of chronic diseases. Like you said, that there are so many things that are impacted within our gut, and being able to do a better job on nutritionally and exercise, right? That those are, everyone talks about how exercise is like the number one treatment for any kind of prevention or disease. And yet we're not really, well, now I think we're paying more attention to it, but it wasn't really studied. And as you said, now there's so much more information about the role of nutrition.
We came to realize that when women have babies and they breastfeed, that their nutrient levels take a nosedive. And if they're not educated about how to replenish those stores, then as you get to midlife, you're at an all-time low. And the research does show that about 1 billion women have got nutritional deficiencies, but women don't know how to recognize those. So teaching them how to recognize them, and then detect them and correct them is the first thing. The second thing is that when you've got low levels of estrogen, as you invariably have when your ovaries retire, you need to fill those receptor sites that are in all our cells with something that looks like estrogen. And that's where the plant-based phytoestrogens come in, because they have a similar molecular structure. And so you can actually fool the brain into believing that you've got normal circulating levels. And that helps to keep the factories open, the factories that make all the new bone cells and protect you against heart disease and keep your skin nice and plump and moist, and your vagina, and all the things that matter to women when they get to this phase in their lives. And it's there for them, which is why we feel so passionately that there needs to be a proper rules-based protocol based on science that women everywhere can use to help themselves, because the surveys show that over 50% of women want to manage their menopause naturally. And even if they take HRT, they can do the two things together, because HRT, it's not going to correct nutritional deficiencies. It's not going to get them out their chair doing the weight bearing and the strength training and all the things that you need to be doing to keep yourself in really good shape. So doing the two things together can make sense.
I think that's so important, right? Like you said, it's making sure that those options are available to women and that they know all of the different things to be done. Because as you said, even when treatment is necessary, and in many instances, like for menopausal symptoms or osteoporosis or whatever, treatment is necessary, but actually the treatment works better when you're doing what you need to do nutritionally and exercise-wise. So as you said, it goes hand, it's not either or, it can be both, or it could be just one or the other. But I think it's really important that we help women understand what are those options available and how can you maximize your health through good nutrition, exercise, and then whatever else you need to really, like you said, feel your best and move things on. So let's talk a little bit about Femmar. And am I pronouncing it right, by the way?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Let's talk about Femmar, what your company does, why you decided that making a company to do this work was necessary.
Well, we decided because of all the years that we've been helping women, and we wanted to take a modern approach as a hormone health company so that we would help women to join the dots and understand how to implement evidence-based rules that will help them to reclaim their well-being. I think that that's the key thing, because in all the surveys we've done over the years, we found that women feel hopeless. They don't actually know that there's quality life after menopause. They don't know that there are all these rabbit holes like nutritional deficiencies, like empty estrogen receptor sites, like making sure you've got enough protein and fiber and probiotics in your diet, and, and the relationship between, as you pointed out, the microbiome and the brain and the hormones and everything. There's so many bits to this, but bringing it all together makes it so, so simple and so effective. And that's why I think I have come to realize over the years I'm driven by a sense of injustice, and I can't bear to see people suffer when they don't need to. We see absolute miracles. In fact, we're 4 weeks into a pilot study at the moment where we're looking at the natural hormone rebalancing protocol and validating that with biometrics. And even after 3 weeks, the women were telling us how much better they feel. Some were using words like amazing and unbelievable, even in the space of a few weeks. So you can't sit by, you just can't sit there knowing that women can have that and that they don't know about it, that we have to change the whole paradigm so that everyone comes to understand that there are some amazing tools out there that they can use to reclaim their self-worth as well as everything else, so that they can show up to work instead of feeling like bombing out of the workplace, so that they can be a good role model, so that they can feel like a sexy partner. They can carry on really enjoying their lives and they don't have to feel that they've passed their sell-by date.
That's so important because, as we said, there's one thing when we talk about the menopausal journey and managing symptoms, and that is obviously what draws people in at first when they're trying to figure out what's happening to their bodies and what can they do. But then after that, like I said, it's how do we live these with vitality during this stage of life? And as you mentioned, we spend more than half of our lives now in the menopausal journey or postmenopausal. So we want to do that great. We don't want to just be getting by. You want to be really thriving, and that it is possible to do that. But as you said, you really have to look at all of the tools and things that you can do and that you should be doing to take care of yourself. And I always think talking about menopause or that this time of life is a great time to take stock of how are we doing physically, right? And how do we prepare for a healthy aging that we all so much look forward to and want. And so it's really great that that's what your program offers. And so talk a little bit then, you've also sort of come up with a, like you said, scientifically based protocol. So the natural hormone rebalancing protocol. Talk a little bit about that, explain what that means and how it helps to improve women's health.
Okay, so we call it NHRP, the Natural Hormone Rebalancing Protocol, because that's just what it does. And we are doing key things, really. We're helping women get their nutrients back into an optimum range. We're helping to fill the receptor sites so that the brain is fooled into thinking you've got normal circulating levels of hormones. And we're helping women to control their cortisol levels, their stress. So we're looking at, because obviously these days we live such stressed lives, there's so much going on in the world. Many of us have got raised cortisol. So we're looking at helping them with that too. And insulin levels, we're looking at all the different hormones in the body and helping to balance them. And so our rules-based protocol consists of having rules for phytoestrogens each day. So how do you get, and they're not on the labels of food, so you have no clue about where to find them, or even when you do find them, how much does a serving contain and how big is a serving? So we've kind of outlined all of that. Then we've got rules for the amount of protein you need, the amount of fiber, polyphenols, hydration. We go right the way through all the different aspects of probiotics so that we're helping to normalize gut function. And then moving on from the diet side of things, we look at science-based supplements that have been through conducted clinical trials, or at least have all their ingredients are standardized and they've been shown to be safe as well as effective. And then we're also looking at things like exercise and movement, strength training, balance, all of that to keep yourself really healthy and well. And then meditation and mindfulness to help lower the cortisol, help rewire the brain, help decrease the flushing. And so we're kind of bringing all the research together so that women have got goals for the day and they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and they've got choices. So not everybody's going to go through this in the same way. Not everybody needs to make the same choice. And we've all got different tastes and budgets and so on, so that they've got the choices outlined that they can pick and incorporate into their daily life. And that's basically how we work it. And then we have the opportunity as well as that for women who are suffering severely to have one-to-one consultations with qualified practitioners. And we have drop-in sessions every week in our community so they can come and meet us and get their questions answered, as well as have their consultation if they choose to. And then we also have sessions with other experts who are on our advisory board who talk about, they may be experts in sleep or brain health or bone health or whatever it is. And then they can come to those and meet the experts and get their questions answered. So there's a lot going on, and we try and cater to everybody's needs. We're very fluid about how we operate. And obviously there's new research coming every single week into our inboxes. And so we keep our references up to date so that our recommendations are always based on real-time research.
So is it a set period? Like, I would imagine this is the kind of stuff that women need to do continuously then. So is it like a set program that they learn all of these things and then that they continue it on? Well, how is the program set up?
Yes, so they follow the protocol. It's an interesting question because with the pilot study we're doing at the moment, it's 3 months. So it started out as a 5-month program when it was run in a clinical setting. 3 months gets them through most of the things they need to get through to get, I guess the below the waist symptoms take a bit longer. So that's why it's 5 months. But usually by 3 months, a lot of the symptoms are under control and women really know what they're doing. Having said that, when we work with Jackson Health System, for example, in Miami, and we deliver the service NHRP to women in the workplace, then we have the women for a whole year. And they have 5 consultations during the year. We get them through the worst of it in the first 3 or 4 months. And then we take them through to another phase where we're helping to maintain them. They're getting bone density scans. So we're looking at their baseline and helping them if they've got osteopenia and so on. So we can signpost them. And with other specialities to make sure that their cholesterol levels are okay. You know, they get other checks as well as what we're doing within the health system. So it just depends. But I think that once you've found the right kind of regime for yourself that really works for you, it becomes second nature, just like cleaning your teeth. Yeah. And it's enjoyable. You want to do it. You know, it doesn't feel like you're on a weight loss diet. It feels like this is a new way of living. And because the payback is that you feel so well, energetic, and women lose weight because they're speeding up their metabolism, they're exercising, it's a whole different way. And so most women, of course, if you're going on vacation, and even then we've got recommendations of what you can do on vacation to stick to it as best you can, but obviously with cheating or some aspects of it so you can still enjoy yourself. And then you just put it, you're armed with the knowledge so you can put it back together again when you get back to real life. So it's not like a life sentence. It's enjoyable and it makes you feel so much better than you can imagine that you would be feeling at this stage in your life, which comes back to your introduction of me. You know, it's like, obviously I keep busy and I keep motivated because I help a lot of women, but I try and practice what I preach. You know, I exercise. I love my exercise, and I've chosen kind of exercise to music and swimming and water aerobics and walking my dog and hula hoop and, you know, things that are fun. And so it doesn't seem like a chore to me. I don't like going to the gym, so I don't do that. You know, you can choose what you want to do. And it's important to make, you know what the research shows works. You know, whether you want to do laughter yoga or whether you want to do what I do, you can choose because you know what all the research shows. And then you've got a whole menu that you can pick from. And I think that's really important because this has got to be, as you say, it's like another half of your life. It's got to be enjoyable. And it's got to be, it's got to be some time when you're investing in yourself.
Yeah. So I want to go back to when we were talking about the phytoestrogens and you were saying like people don't know where to find them, whatever. Can you give an example of one? Like, what are we talking about when we talk about plant-based estrogen stuff? Just give an example of what might be.
And we have a phytoestrogen food guide, and anybody who wants it can come to the Femmar website and download it. It's free to all women. The foods that contain the most plant-based estrogens are soya products, so soy milk, edamame beans, all the different soy products. They've got different values, and we've kind of outlined them on the sheet. Flax seeds, golden flax seeds, the milled seeds, the whole seeds, sesame seeds, tahini. There's a whole load of stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to change your whole diet. You can incorporate it by having a bit for breakfast, having some edamame beans or flax seeds on your salad at lunchtime. Having it can be really easy. And obviously having foods that contain probiotics as well, which helps to metabolize the phytoestrogens and make them more useful to you as well. It's really so easy. In fact, in our community recently, not only do we do fast option menus, as well as the recipes and more sophisticated menus, but when I got to the end of that, I thought, maybe that's still too complicated. So I did a whole load of no cook options so that you can literally go to the supermarket or wherever and pick up the healthy choices without having to cook. You can put it together and still get what you need.
See, that's so great. And then the reason I wanted to go back to that was like phytoestrogens, and it seems like it's something that you don't understand. And then you realize, no, it's flaxseed. It's the things we talk about every day, right? The things we know and we see on the grocery store shelves. But as you said, we have no idea what their benefits are. And as you said, what portions to have them in that bring about, as you said, based on science, the best results and stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of, talk about that. We're talking about real food and just how to get to that good hormonal balance based on what we're consuming. And like you said, there's so many, many more benefits to eating well than just managing your menopausal symptoms. It really is about staying healthy and doing everything that we need. So I think that's really terrific. And we'll have to make sure that we have notes with this section, with this podcast that direct people to more information about everything that we've talked about and about your program, obviously, which people can check out online, as you said, and then determine what's right for them. But just being able to have access to this information is so important.
Yeah, we have a community. I mean, we feel so strongly that every woman has a right to this information that we've now got a community which to join, the phytoestrogen guide is free, as I said, but to join the community and have access to the daily protocol and all the recipes and menus and all the fast options and everything, is $4.99 a month. So we just wanted to make it really affordable to anybody who wants to
very affordable. Yeah. And like you said, there's some things people can check it out and learn more and see what you said. Is it right for them? What parts of it do they want to incorporate? All of that kind of stuff. It's really, really great. I mean, Maryon, this is again, I just love this topic. And I was so pleased to meet you a couple of years ago when we were both attending the same Women's Health Innovation Summit. Yeah. But so if want women to walk away with one really good wellness tip from you, what would that be?
It has to be that they should have faith in the fact that there is a quality life after menopause, and that they shouldn't say they're too busy to invest in themselves, because I hear that all the time. The payback of nurturing yourself just for a few months to learn how to navigate this life stage is so great. Not just in the short term, in that it helps to control your symptoms, but it gives you great insights into how to prevent or even reverse osteoporosis and osteopenia. It helps to prevent heart attacks. It helps to delay the onset of dementia. It helps to keep you juicy below the waist. There's so many good things that this approach will help with, based on the published research findings, that you just have to give yourself permission to dip your toe in the water and find out how to get a piece of it for yourself that works for you. So I think that rather than one tip of what to do, there isn't one magic thing. It's finding out what works for you that research shows is going to be helpful.
I think that's really terrific. And exactly like you said, we don't prioritize our own health. We don't even give ourselves permission to look into these things, right? And so just advising women to just take some time to explore the ways that you can feel better, whatever those are, is just so important. So I think that's a terrific advice for everyone. And I really do appreciate you, Maryon, for sharing your time and your personal story with us. And as I mentioned, we'll include all the additional information and resources about you with the notes of this episode. And for all our listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this and learned a little something new. And so please subscribe to the Positive Pause podcast so you never miss an episode, and share the information about this podcast with your family and friends. Thanks again to my guest, Maryon Stewart, author, TV host, and speaker on natural menopause. And thank you for listening. We hope you'll tune in to another episode of The Positive Pause.